Hello, everyone. My name is Patrizia Cavazzoni, and I am the Director for the Center for Drug Evaluation and Research at FDA. It is my pleasure to be here today to say a few remarks that are going to be focused on product quality, as well as data integrity issues that we have seen in bioavailability and bioequivalence studies. So India clearly plays a critical role in supplying medicines to the United States, and we have seen an increase since 2020 in both the percent of finished dose form manufacturers, as well as the percent of API manufacturers that are located in India. And to give you an idea, 19% of API manufacturers for the US market are in India. Most are intended for solid oral dosage form drug products. India manufactures more than 500 sterile products and more than 100 of the medicines on the US list of essential medicine, medical countermeasures, and clinical inputs, which is available on our website. In fact, India represents 25% of the drug product manufacturers on that list. Last year, FDA inspected nearly 800 sites, and most were foreign, and 146 of those sites were in India. And remember that this number does not include the FDA pre-approval inspections, which are application specific. And I just want to emphasize that by the end of last fiscal year, 11% of facilities in India had inspection outcomes of official action indicated, which was the highest percentage of any other global region. And I would encourage you to look at the data in the 2023 report on the state of pharmaceutical quality, which is posted on our website. So these quality problems pose a major risk of shortages, and we have seen a really serious example of this in the spring-summer of 2023, when we saw major shortages of essential oncology drugs as a result of quality issues in a manufacturer located in India. Let me now switch to another area of concern for us, which is over-the-counter drugs. We're seeing new entrants into the OTC space, and these new entrants tend to be largely cosmetic firms that are stepping into the drug space. Remember that over-the-counter drugs in the US are regulated as drugs. Or even more concerning to us, we're seeing industrial manufacturers that jump into the drug-making business. And we have seen over the years some very concerning trends related to product quality. We have seen ophthalmic products, eye drops that are made under poor conditions, are contaminated, have led to very serious adverse events, including deaths in immunocompromised patients, blindness, and so on. We have seen a worldwide crisis, really, due to contamination of cough and cold products, specifically pediatric cough and cold products that we are contaminated with diethylene glycol or ethylene glycol, and there have been upward of 200 deaths globally, luckily not in the US, thanks to the fact that we imposed import alerts. And during the pandemic, we saw some very opportunistic manufacturers who introduced a hand sanitizer that was adulterated with methanol, which led to over 20 deaths in the United States, as well as reports of blindness and other serious events. And when we see these new manufacturers coming on board and register their facilities, it's very clear that many of these overseas manufacturers are not aware of the US requirements for testing of drugs. And so we tend to play a whack-a-mole with violation related to product quality. And this is particularly due to the fact that our authorities at FDA have a bit of a gap when it comes to our ability to inspect facilities that make over-the-counter drugs or monograph drugs before those drugs are entered into commerce in the United States. We have that authority for all other products, but not for monograph drugs, and we have asked Congress to fill that gap. So this is really a good segue to talk about quality culture. And this is why quality culture is so important to us and should be even more important or as important for manufacturers. And quality culture really starts at the top. Executives and senior management really set the tone for an organization's quality culture and provide support to build a quality culture and sustain it. And a quality culture will only flourish when there is a widespread buy-in at all levels of the organization, and really everyone understands how they fit into the culture. And in the absence of a strong management support or employee buy-in, the culture can break down, leading to increased errors, non-conformances, and misconduct. An organization's leader is really critical in understanding the existing state of the quality culture in an organization, identifying barriers to change, and setting expectations for what the quality culture should be, including driving proactive prevention of quality issues, facilitating the raising of problem in the communications of errors or deviations rather than sweeping them under the carpet, and really fostering a culture of continuous improvement. And every single step in the pharmaceutical supply chain plays a role in encouraging a quality culture, including contractors and vendors, keeping in mind that the manufacturers are ultimately responsible for the quality of the product, of the work that their contractors and third-party vendors do. And this is a good transition to the last topic that I wanted to discuss with you today, which is a very concerning trends that we're seeing in data integrity problems as it pertains to bioavailability and bioequivalence studies that are done by contract research organizations in India. And since 2016, we have seen multiple data integrity issues when it comes to BE studies. Namely, we have had public communications on Semler, Panexo, Synchron, and just recently, in fact, hot off the press since last week, we also took another action for Synapse Labs, and where we uncovered additional and potentially sort of broader problems. And we're very worried about this. We have taken public action in these situations, but obviously there are some concerning downstream impact of these data integrity issues. If we look across all of these cases, we have good reason to believe that submission of falsified PK data to FDA has occurred in these cases. And some of the examples of what we have observed are point-to-point overlapping PK profiles of multiple subject pairs. We have seen non-random distribution of subject data into distinct cohorts to pass the bioequivalence study. We have seen questionable sample reanalysis schemes and widespread poor quality management system procedures. So I just want to make it very clear, and this is not debatable. FDA requires, mandates that quality data that is accurate, consistent, and reliable. And we cannot review applications unless those data are provided to us. And when we uncover these issues, as I will explain shortly, we take very decisive action. So I really have to urge the industry to really look at these problems. As I said, manufacturers are ultimately responsible for the conduct and the quality of the work that the CROs do on their behalf. And so we really need manufacturers to pay attention to this space. So as I mentioned earlier, there are some very serious impacts to these data integrity issues. So first, when we identify these problems, we take action and we change the TE code to BX. And this has far-reaching negative consequences in the industry, as well as patient care and the drug supply. So the BX-rated products lose the pharmacy level automatic substitution designation, and also as a result of that may face problems with sales contracts and purchasers who may just move away from these products because they cannot be automatically substituted at the pharmacy, and also because increasingly in the US, purchasers are paying attention to quality issues. Then there is a problem for the actual manufacturers because they have to go back and redo the studies, which is, of course, takes time and money, and it's really not sort of a good business proposition because during that time, a manufacturer may actually lose market share, revenue, and productivity. This is also a problem when it comes to shortages because we want to have a redundant supply chain. And if we have some manufacturers who are no longer in the market effectively because of the BX rating, we also have less sources for any single product. And this obviously increases the risk of shortages. But even most importantly, if these issues continue to happen, they will undermine the reputation of the generic industry and generic medicine and lower the confidence or undermine the confidence of patients, buyers, and the public in general. And we really cannot afford to do that. Over 90% of drugs in the US are generic drugs. It is essential that when a patient takes the drug, that they can be assured of the quality of that drug, and falsified data does not equate to quality. Let me end with a call for action. We're all responsible for a quality culture. FDA has its role. We work with manufacturers to help them to have strong quality management systems. But at the end of the day, manufacturers are the ones who have to ensure that there is a strong quality culture in their organizations, and that everybody in the organization understands what is expected to them, and that is to operate with integrity and to the highest quality. So we really need your organizations to have a culture that promotes informing FDA of any data quality concerns promptly so that we can start working with you to solve problems proactively, because before they become so intractable and so severe that they then lead to actions on the part of FDA, interruption of manufacturing, shortages, and so on. You know, we understand that there is a cost to quality. We understand that it is a cost in conducting BA/BE studies. However, there is also a significant cost and a major impact in just looking at the bottom line, for instance, going to the lowest bidder when it comes to CROs and so on. And also, last but not least, it's really essential that manufacturers pay a lot of attention to the data that they're receiving from CROs, for instance, by looking for anomalies, for any sort of irregularities in the data. There are ways to do this with the advent of generative AI. There will be even more ways of doing so. For instance, you know, manufacturers should really pay attention to the shape of PK data profiles and looking for PK profiles that look too similar or the same as the next one, which could really point to manufacturer data. So let me conclude by emphasizing that we are all in this together, and FDA is a partner to industry, in addition to obviously having some very clear regulatory responsibilities. This conference is a great space to share information and experiences, and to really discuss what the goals should be when it comes to quality culture and making sure that the quality of medicines is reliable and lives up to the standards, not only the standards of FDA, but even most importantly, the expectation of every single patient who takes these drugs every single day. Thank you for your attention, and I wish you a very good conference.